What's going on, guys, and welcome back to this week's Bourbon of the Week. My name's Chris. I'm going to be your host for today. If you haven't already, click that subscribe button here on the channel. We're pushing 1,500 subscribers, and to be quite honest with you, I'm recording this on a Monday night before our Wednesday review, and by the time you watch this on Wednesday, I might have hit the partnered affiliate program here on YouTube. 4,000 watch hours, over 1,000 subscribers. So if we have, congratulations to me, but more importantly, thank you to you guys for helping me get to this point. There's so many people to thank along the way, and we'll do that at another time in one of our lives. We still have to do the 1,000 subscriber live. We're getting there. I promised you guys, look, I got hoodies, I got t-shirts, I promised it. Bourbon of the Week, time for the traditional sip. We got t-shirts, we got hoodies, we got custom Glencairns, all kinds of stuff we're going to give away on that. A couple handshakes coming out of my collection here. Tonight we're doing Smoke Wagon. Also, a little bit of itinerary for you. We have a upcoming live event with the Drink Pro. We are planning when we're going to do that. I'm actually using his glass here tonight. So I am going to get together with Kyle at the Drink Pro. We are going to do a live eventually here soon. We're still ironing out the details. Also, Matt from ADHD Whiskey reached out on one of his lives, says he wants to send me a flight, and we can do a live with him as well, which is awesome. These are all people who have kind of inspired me to be part of this YouTube community, and them reaching out to me and asking me for stuff like joining them on lives and sending me flights is honestly like a dream come true. When I started this, I never thought that I would be here. Also, we have two different Maker's Mark pick. We have a Fine Wine and Good Spirits, and we also have a Benesh New Jersey, Cherry Hill Jersey. They're famous for their store picks. So we're going to put them head to head, see who wins. Battle of New Jersey versus Pennsylvania. That'll be a fun one. Also, keeping on the Maker's Mark, we're going to do a Maker's Mark versus Weller lineup to see who really is the best of the wheated bourbons. I think we're going to do the Maker's Mark Cash Strength, the Maker's Mark 46, and then like the traditional Maker's Mark versus Weller Special Reserve, Weller Foolproof, and Weller Antique 107. That's going to be kind of a series. We're going to do one against each other each time, see which two of the three win, or maybe three of the three win. And then from there, we're going to take on some other wheated bourbons upon your guys' suggestions. So that's just a couple things coming up. Plus, we got Christmas coming up. We got Thanksgiving coming up, which means plenty of wild turkey to be drank. We got a whiskey advent calendar, a bourbon advent calendar coming in for Christmas. There's just a lot going on right now. I love it. It's my off season. This is where I want it to be, making all this content for you guys. But let's get into tonight. Tonight we have a kind of special one. I don't get this in Pennsylvania. Smoke Wagon Uncut Unfiltered. I've been looking for this. I've actually spoken with the gentleman that is very, what's the word I'm looking for? Present on Instagram. He's always around. He's always posting. He's always answering questions, does interviews all the time. I spoke with him about this particular bottle. You can look up all of these batches. This is batch number 72. He basically goes through every single one of his batches because we're going to talk a little bit more about the distilling process because we know this is MGP, but there's a little bit of a hiccup in that as well. So we're going to go over that during our Bourbon Bomb of the Week. But that's enough of an intro for today. Might be my longest intro ever. Everybody knows before we get started. Time for the traditional sip. Damn. So welcome. If this is your first time joining us, what we do is we take three categories for our bourbons here. Price, taste, drinkability. We don't even do them in that order. We start with drinkability because price is all going to be dependent on how good it tastes and how good it sips. We like to keep things simple. We do it on a scale of 0 to 10. This is Smoke Wagon Uncut Unfiltered Barrel Strength. It comes in at 57.8%. We got to double that for the proof, which is 115.6 if I do my math correctly there. Like I already mentioned, this is batch number 72. Each batch is different. This is technically, under their definition, a bespoke blending. Now, I had to kind of ask a lot of people on my Discord about this. By the way, plug, come join us on Discord, link in the description below. How can it's not a single barrel, right? So bespoke means made specifically or uniquely for one particular individual, tailored to their preferences. Well, this is exactly that, but whose preference is it tailored towards? The owner, the blender. It's his preference. So each one of these batches is a bespoke batch. So they're all going to be different from batch to batch. And like I mentioned, he's very present on Instagram, and he'll tell you exactly what these batches are supposed to include. This is what batch 72 is supposed to include. I'll put it right up here. Hopefully you can read that. It's probably going to be a little small. We'll make sure it's big enough and scroll through it. But in batch 72, this is a fantastic... I've been looking for this bottle. This has been, ever since I got the original small batch Smoke Wagon, I've been looking for the Uncut Unfiltered just because I've heard so much good stuff about it. And I know what you're thinking, Chris, another MGP high proof product, right? MGP puts out, from what I'm understanding, I'm learning a lot more about MGP just through this bottle alone. MGP puts out 5 different mash bills. he's almost uniquely using one of the mash bills that not a lot of people pick. This is a 36% high rye mash bill because when he went in to find his mash bill, he was very excited about like a Four Roses, which is that high rye mash bill as well. So he uses a 36% mash bill on this. There's 2 ryes, 2 wheateds, and 1 malted barley, I believe, something like that. Not exactly sure what all 5 mash bills are. But this one is given to us. This one is a 60% corn, 36% rye, leaving us with the 4% malted barley. So this is high. This is as high of a rye as you can get without being a rye mash bill, because 36%, I mean, there's only another couple percentages there until it becomes a rye instead of a bourbon, because it's got to be 51% corn. So you're either dropping the malted barley or dropping the corn. Either way, 115.6 proof. We'll just call it 116 proof. Let's get into drinkability on this. I've already talked so much and we haven't even started this yet. Drinkability on this though, let's take a sip and see where it falls. So this is the tough thing. This has a little bit of a burn, right? But 36% rye on this. All of the spices and ethanol that all of the burn, I should say, is coming from the spices and not from the ethanol. For 116 proof, this sips dramatically smooth. Like, this is actually, I just did the Stellum the other week, which I think is like 114 proof, which I thought was damn good. And then the only other one that I've proofed up there and given such a good score is the Booker's Granny Batch. This beats both of those. And this is like crazy good how easy this sips. Again, you're going to get, if you're not used to drinking high proof bourbons, or if you're not used to drinking high ryes, you're going to get a little bit of a burn for this. There's going to be a good Kentucky hug, or I guess an Indiana hug for this one, or a Nevada hug, whichever way you want to do it. Obviously, this is coming out of Nevada, just so if you didn't know, Las Vegas, Nevada, H&C Distilling Company. But it's not an ethanol kick. Once you get past that first sip or two, you're really going to lose a little bit of that burn, because I think what they do so well in this blending process on these bespokes, these individual blendings per batch, is they can bring out flavors that you wouldn't traditionally get from an MGP product, because he's capable of putting these flavors together so well. The sweetness in this particular batch 72, really dilutes a lot of that ethanol kick on this. And at 116 proof, I'm going to give this a fantastic score on drinkability. We're going to put it up above the 9 point. I think we had like a 9.48 for the Stellum. This has got to be up higher than that. I'm going to go 9.55 on drinkability on this. That's pretty much as high as you can get. I don't know if I've ever had a bourbon with this much proof behind it sip so fantastically. Now, we haven't done the Weller Full Proof yet. That one sips pretty easily as well, but I still think that has more of a kick for this than this. 9.55 is where we're going to put this on drinkability. Up next, we're going to get into taste on this. And if you know anything about my flavor preferences, all I want is a high rye mash bill. It's one of my favorite. Wild Turkey's in that lower percentage rye. The Four Roses, like we already mentioned, in a higher rye. I love a lot of the Jim Beam stuff because it's old granddad, the high rye. It just, especially this time of the year, just something about a high rye, barrel strength, uncut, unfiltered bourbon that just really makes you want to go outside, put up a bonfire, and just start drinking. And this is no exception. This starts out, like I already mentioned, he gives you the tasting notes on this. You're going to get those sweet fruits off the front of this. Sweet caramel, sweet vanilla, all hit you right in the mouth, not cut, no dilution to this. Then you're definitely going to get right into that spice. And that spice is, it's not overwhelming in a sense that like it's definitely, you know, your black pepper, your allspice. He even mentions like red hots, like that candy that you eat, which is that's exactly what this tastes like when you're drinking this. It's that spiciness that you got to have another one, right? It just keeps coming back to you. And then the crazy part is, not at first, not my first sip, not my first glass even, but the second glass, you start to really pick up on a little bit of age behind this, in the sense that there's an oak, there's almost a dryness on the end of this, maybe a little bit of a leather note as well. Now, I don't know exactly how, this is non-age stated, I don't know exactly how old these bottles are, but it does seem to give you like a little bit of an age statement to this, maybe outside of that 5 to 6 year mark. And I don't know if that's on purpose, part of the blending process. I don't know if he's using one older barrel to try and bring up that age, or if he's just putting a bunch of older barrels together. But there is a hint of a little bit of age behind this bottle, which really rounds out this so nicely. I don't know if I can speak more highly. When I first started drinking bourbons, I was all about 80 proof. I was all about 80 and 90 proof, and no ethanol and no burn and anything like that. But as I've moved along, which is tough because I put some of these, for example, like the Rare Breed. When I first did Rare Breed, I wasn't into that high proof bourbon yet. So it's down there in that 8.33 area with something like Long Branch. And we all know Rare Breed probably doesn't deserve to be down with Long Branch. Long Branch either deserves to be down lower or Rare Breed a little bit higher. But now that I've progressed enough to be able to actually enjoy something like this, where you're getting all those bourbon flavors, you can appreciate the blending process that goes into this. I mean, this is just going to get another fantastic score when it comes to taste on this. And I got to do it. I got to put it maybe back up in the 9s, if not damn close. I got to take one more sip and we'll think about it. So the only thing that I will knock on this on the tasting notes is it's too complex a thing when it comes to bourbon. So there's just so much going on. Every time you drink it, it's vanilla, it's honey, it's caramel, it's oak, it's back and forth, it's this and that, it's a great experience. But at the same time, sometimes I'm not always I just want to drink a bourbon and just to drink a bourbon. I don't want to drink a bourbon to try to figure out what's going on in my mouth. This is complex. It's definitely more complex than any of the other MGP products that I've personally had. But at the same time, that's the only knock that I have on this. And I'm going to drop it right below a 9. I'm going to put it at an 8.95. 8.96. I keep using 5s. 8.96 right before the 9 there. That's where we're going to put it on taste. And last but certainly not least, we're going to get into price on this. And price, we always try to break down into what value does this bottle have. Now, MGP sourcing we know is going to cost more, but that shouldn't affect the consumer. The consumer shouldn't have to worry about that. And we're gonna get into why they use MGP. We've talked a lot about companies that start out with MGP and then slowly add their own distillate into it, and then by the end of another 5 or 10 years, whenever they can get their age up on their own stuff, they completely wean off MGP. Which is great because I love to see distilleries doing their own thing rather than just sourcing from MGP. But at the same time, we know that MGP can put out such great product in such grand quantities that for a company like Smoke Wagon, who kind of at this point has to stick with MGP, which we'll go over, they're still using their product. I don't know why people are all about, oh, it's another source bourbon. It's another source bourbon from MGP. They're damn good at what they do. So if you like source bourbon from MGP, which is what I do, then this isn't a bad pick because it is different. It's not exactly like the rest of them, but at the same time, it's still MGP, so you're still getting quality stuff. This comes in at $60 a bottle. MGP though shouldn't be our problem. That's on them. If they don't want to distill their own stuff, then they can't charge us extra just because it's sourced, even though that's probably costing them more than if they were to set up their own stuff. So taking that out of the equation, it's a high rye mash bill, so we know we're going to pay extra for that. It is uncut, unfiltered at 115.6 proof, so we know we're going to pay more for that. And then the bespoke process, the fact that he's actually picking out these barrels, bringing them back, and blending them specifically, I guess that's what a lot of these master distillers are doing, but he's doing that per batch. Which I don't know if that's sustainable. If he's ever going to grow outside of a place where he can't just continue, at least I don't think, maybe that's what he wants to do, just continue to keep blending and doing this for each individual batch rather than getting some. I mean, I guess they have the small batch, which would be a little different, but for these batch 72, he's only going to get so many bottles out of this, then he's got to make another batch. Seems to love to do it. That just seems like a lot of work to me. So that's also going into the cost of this. And at $60, not a terrible ask, right? We've got a lot of higher proof stuff now that's coming out in that $40 to $50 range. So I definitely think you're paying a little bit of a premium. They're obviously a smaller, newer, up-and-coming distillery, being from 2012. I think 2013 or 14 was when they put out their first bottle. So knowing that they're newer, again, that's not the consumer's fault. They put out good stuff. They put it out at a pretty decent price. I would wish it was a little lower and also a little bit more available. So as far as price goes, we're going to drop it a little bit, not much further out of the 8s. I'm going to give it like an 8.25 when it comes to price on this. And as always, while I add these scores up, let's send it over to this week's Bourbon Bomb of the Week and learn a little bit more about why they use MGP and they're not making their own stuff. Let's do this. So we're already pretty far into this, so I'm going to keep this Bourbon Bomb short and sweet. Basically, in 2012, when they started this company, they got flown out to MGP. They decided they were going to buy these barrels, right? They wanted to bring them back. They got all the paperwork started up in the Nevada end. And basically, for a craft distillery to become a craft distillery, it's a lot of paperwork. Liquor is very controlled across the whole United States, and it's no different in Nevada. So in 2012, when they started this process, they had everything in their mind, in their understanding. They already had the stills. They already had everything that they needed to get their own distillate up and running. But in the meantime, they were going to use MGP, kind of like I talked about before. Well, in 2013, they actually passed a law saying if you're going to distill your own stuff, You cannot bring in any other outsourced bourbons or whiskeys or anything. So basically, they had to decide at that point to continue using MGP and not make their own stuff, or wait until their stuff was old enough to put out, which could have been another 3, 4, 5 years, depending on how long they wanted to make sure that they aged this to put out a good product. So basically, they decided, let's bring the MGP in and we'll start with that. And because of that, they can't make their own distilled stuff. At least that's my understanding from what I've read from a few articles and a few people that I've talked to, which is crazy because if it had been a year earlier and they started distilling their own products, one, they might not have MGP, and two, we probably wouldn't have this bottle right here, at least not yet, at least not at this quality at this age. So it just goes to show you that some things are meant to happen the way that they're meant to happen. And without that little hiccup in the Nevada Liquor Control Board, we wouldn't have this bottle that we have here today. Won a bunch of awards. A lot of people look for it, and a lot of people have it on their shelves because it's that damn good. Who would have thought? But that's our short and sweet bourbon bomb of the week. I want to make sure we get you out of here quickly. This one comes in at an 8.93, which is almost cracking the 9s, but it does crack our top 5 of the list right now. It's just a fantastic pour. A lot of people love this bottle, which is why it's already won so many awards. I can't wait to see what Smoke Wagon continues to do as they grow as a company. But that's where we're going to leave you for this week. Make sure you check me out on Instagram at Bourbon of the Week. Every Tuesday at 4 p.m. we drop an image of the bourbon that we're going to review. You can go on and try and guess my score. If you guess the closest, I'll give you a shout out on the channel, as well as enter you in a monthly drawing for some cool prizes such as custom blends, hoodies, t-shirts, all kinds of stuff like that. Also, if you don't already, come chat with us on Discord. Once we hit 100 members on there, we're going to do a Discord only giveaway. And also check me out on Patreon, www.patreon.com/bourbon of the week. We have a couple Patreons on there. We have a Patreon only Discord. We do once a month stuff together on our Discord where we all get together and chat. Sometimes I send out some samples. Sometimes they send me one. We're doing a trivia night this week for some cool prizes as well. So come check us out on Discord. And if you want to support me on Patreon, like I mentioned, make sure you click that link in the description below. As always, don't drink and drive. Drink responsibly. Stay healthy, stay happy, and stay drinking. Cheers, y'all.